The atmosphere on The View that morning was charged with excitement, the kind that hums through the air before something big happens. The audience filled every seat, buzzing with anticipation. Denzel Washington, two-time Academy Award winner, Hollywood icon, and man of few wasted words, was the day's guest. The stage was dressed in vibrant hues, coffee mugs sat neatly before each co-host, and Joy Behar, ever the outspoken one, was already smirking as if she'd been waiting for this conversation all week. As soon as Denzel walked out, the applause was thunderous. He greeted the crowd with that magnetic smile of his, shaking hands, nodding humbly before taking a seat. He was there to promote his upcoming film, a gritty drama about redemption and justice, two themes that often mirrored his real-life convictions. Everything started smoothly. Whoopi Goldberg asked about his directing process, Sarah Haynes complimented his dedication to authenticity, and Denzel responded with charm, humor, and grace. Then Joy Behar leaned in. Her voice, calm but sharp, sliced through the pleasantries. Denzel, you've always been seen as a commanding figure, both on and off screen. Do you think that kind of dominance is still necessary in Hollywood today? Or is it part of an era that's gone? The audience went quiet. Denzel chuckled, crossing his arms. Dominance, he repeated. I'd call it focus, Joy. You know, you can't build a career like mine without a little discipline. You can't lead a film set if you don't have presence. Joy smiled thinly. Presence is one thing, but don't you think younger stars today might see that kind of energy as intimidating? Maybe even outdated. Denzel leaned forward, his tone still friendly but firmer now. Outdated? No, it's called professionalism. I came up in a time where you showed up prepared, respected everyone on set, and gave your best. If that intimidates people, maybe they need to raise their game. A few audience members clapped. Joy's eyebrows lifted slightly, the corner of her mouth twitching. She wasn't backing off. But Denzel, times change. Hollywood's changing. The old ways, especially the strong, male-dominated dynamic, don't sit well with people anymore. Maybe it's time for softer leadership, don't you think? The shift in Denzel's expression was subtle but unmistakable. He straightened in his chair, the warmth in his eyes dimming just a bit. Softer leadership, he echoed. I don't believe in soft or hard leadership. I believe in respect. I treat people right, I work hard, and I expect the same. That's never gone out of style. The audience clapped louder this time, some even cheering. But Joy's grin remained. Come on, Denzel, she said, tilting her head. You can't deny that there's a generational difference. Maybe you've just gotten comfortable with the old ways. That comment hit a nerve. Denzel laughed, quietly, but without amusement. Comfortable, he repeated. Joy, I've never been comfortable. Every role I take, every film I direct, I'm fighting to say something real. To inspire people. If you call that old-fashioned, fine. But I'll take substance over trends any day. The tension was thick now. The other co-hosts exchanged uneasy glances. Sonny Hostin tried to jump in, but Joy held the floor. Well, maybe people just don't need lectures from Hollywood royalty anymore, she quipped. That did it. The laughter that followed from the audience died instantly when they saw Denzel's expression. He didn't shout, didn't raise his voice. He just stared at Joy for a moment, then said calmly, lecture. I'm not lecturing anyone, I'm speaking from experience, something this industry seems to value less and less. The silence was heavy, even Whoopi looked uncomfortable. The producers shifted behind the cameras, sensing things slipping. Denzel leaned back, exhaling slowly. You know, Joy, you can disagree with me. But don't twist what I'm saying. I came here to talk about the film, about mentorship, about giving back. Not to defend myself like I'm on trial. Joy crossed her arms, matching his tone. No one's putting you on trial. I'm just saying people might see your perspective as a little out of touch. Denzel leaned forward again, his voice now carrying that unmistakable gravitas that made him a legend. Out of touch, he repeated softly, almost to himself. I've been in this business for over 4 decades. I've seen it change, evolve, fall apart, and rebuild. I've trained actors, funded programs, built opportunities for the next generation. I might be a lot of things, Joy, but out of touch isn't one of them. The crowd burst into applause. Some stood up. Joy smiled tightly, but her eyes showed irritation. Denzel, sensing the moment, finished his thought with quiet conviction. You call it macho energy. I call it responsibility. I didn't get here by being soft. I got here by standing firm in who I am. The audience cheered again, and this time even a few of the co-hosts clapped. But Joy wasn't done. She gave him a knowing smirk and said under her breath, "Someone's feeling defensive." Denzel's eyes narrowed slightly, his voice calm but edged. "Not defensive, just disappointed." And with that, the room fell silent again. The producers scrambled for a commercial break, cutting to black just as the tension hit its peak. What the audience didn't yet know was that this was only the beginning of a confrontation that would spill far beyond that studio, one that would soon dominate headlines everywhere. When the cameras came back from the abrupt commercial break, the atmosphere in the studio was heavy with unease. The usual laughter and chatter that The View was known for had vanished. The audience, sensing the tension, was quieter now, and the co-host's smiles seemed tighter, more forced. Denzel Washington sat still in his chair, his face calm but his eyes unreadable. Joy Behar, ever the provocateur, sipped from her mug, pretending to be unfazed. But everyone in the room could feel it, the storm hadn't passed. It had only paused. Whoopi Goldberg tried to rescue the moment, her voice smooth but cautious. "So, Denzel," she said, forcing a light tone, "let's talk about your new movie. I saw the trailer, it's intense. Tell us about what drew you to this role." Denzel glanced briefly at Whoopi, offering a polite nod. "It's a story about redemption," he said evenly. "It's about finding your humanity again, even after the world tries to strip it from you." But before he could continue, Joy cut in, her tone sharp and teasing. "That's interesting, because earlier you said something about people needing to raise their game. Don't you think that kind of thinking, expecting everyone to meet your level, is a bit arrogant?" The audience murmured softly, a low wave of discomfort spreading through the studio. Denzel's jaw tightened. He turned his full attention to Joy, speaking slowly. "Arrogance is thinking you're above learning. Confidence is knowing you've earned your place. I know the difference." Joy smirked. "Oh, I'm sure you do." The air froze. Whoopi looked toward the producers, signaling subtly for another break, but they hesitated. This was ratings gold. Sarah Haynes tried to jump in with a nervous laugh, saying, "Let's maybe shift gears." But Denzel didn't let it go. "Joy," he said, his tone still measured, "if you're gonna question my character, at least do it with respect. I've been on this show before. I thought this was about honest conversation, not ambushes." Joy leaned back, crossing her arms. "Oh please, Denzel. No, one's ambushing you. You're just not used to people pushing back." That hit hard. The crowd gasped softly. Denzel paused for a beat, clearly trying to hold his composure. Then he smiled, slowly, without warmth. "You think I'm not used to pushback? I've faced tougher critics than you before breakfast." The audience erupted in mixed reactions, cheers, laughter, and a few uncomfortable groans. Joy chuckled, trying to downplay it. "You've got quite an ego, don't you?" she said, half laughing but clearly agitated. Denzel leaned forward, his gaze unwavering. "No, Joy, what I have is self-respect. Something every person, especially in this business, needs to survive." That line drew applause from almost everyone in the room. Joy's face hardened. "Well, maybe some of that self-respect comes off as condescending," she shot back. Denzel shook his head, almost pitying her. "Or maybe you mistake confidence for condescension. That's not on me." The tension was palpable now. The studio lights seemed hotter. Even the camera crew looked uneasy. Then came the moment no one expected. Denzel stood up, slowly, gracefully, but with the kind of authority that made the room go completely silent. He placed his microphone on the table and said quietly, "I came here to talk about my work, my craft, and what I give back. Not to get drawn into some made-for-TV argument." Joy raised her eyebrows. "Oh, come on, you're really walking out. Because of a few tough questions?" He turned slightly, looking at her. "No, Joy, because there's a difference between tough questions and cheap shots." The audience gasped again, then clapped, some standing in support, others just stunned. Denzel didn't shout, didn't grandstand. He simply adjusted his jacket, nodded politely to Whoopi and the others, and walked off the set as the cameras continued to roll. Joy tried to laugh it off, but it came out awkward and brittle. "Well," she said, gesturing vaguely toward the stage, "I guess that's what happens when Hollywood royalty doesn't get their way." Whoopi gave her a sharp look. "Joy," she said softly, "you might want to stop." The show quickly cut to another commercial break, but the damage was already done. Within minutes, social media was ablaze. Clips of Denzel's exit spread like wildfire. Hashtags like #DenzelOnTheView, #RespectDenzel, and #Joy crossed the line began trending. Some viewers called Joy's questions bold and refreshing, but the overwhelming reaction favored Denzel. By the afternoon, entertainment outlets were running headlines: Denzel Washington walks off The View after explosive clash, and Joy Behar faces backlash over disrespectful interview. Producers from The View released a short statement saying the show encourages open, passionate discussion, but Denzel's representatives responded with a far more direct statement. Greater than, Mr. Washington values dialogue rooted in mutual respect. Today's exchange fell short of that standard. Behind the scenes, reports surfaced that producers had escorted Denzel through a side exit after the altercation, wanting to avoid paparazzi waiting outside. Audience members who were there began posting first-hand accounts online, describing the tension as real, awkward, and painful to watch. The next day, Joy addressed the incident briefly on air, insisting she had no regrets, and that sometimes strong personalities clash. But Whoopi looked less amused. "There's a line," she said, "and yesterday, we crossed it." Meanwhile, Denzel remained silent, refusing to comment further. He continued promoting his film elsewhere, his interviews calm and thoughtful, never once mentioning Joy or The View. But his silence spoke volumes. In the end, the incident became more than just another viral TV moment. It was a lesson about respect, pride, and the fine line between journalism and provocation. Denzel's walk-off wasn't just an act of anger, it was a declaration of principle. And as the world debated who was right or wrong, one truth became clear: in an age of loud voices and shallow soundbites, Denzel Washington reminded everyone that real strength isn't about shouting the loudest, it's about knowing when to walk away.